It is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. The name of that tune is called Twilight of the Gods from the latest release from Blind Guardian, Beyond the Red Mirror. And Chris, looking beyond the red mirror, we've got the lead vocalist for Blind Guardian, Hansi, on the line with us. Welcome back to the Classic Metal Show there, Hansi.
It's great to be back. Great pleasure.
Do you recall...
I'm on the other side of the pond.
Yeah, do you recall being on the show before?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, cool.
I hope I'm not mistaken.
No, you've been on the show before. It's been years since we had you on, but
okay. I was young then.
Yeah, weren't we all?
Okay.
Well, Hansi, Blind Guardian is back with a new release. You guys are European stalwarts, I guess. And we like to share that with the people here in the U.S. because here in the U.S., the style of music that Blind Guardian does just doesn't get any kind of airplay or promotion here in the U.S. So from your viewpoint, how do you view the U.S. fans as far as Blind Guardian is concerned? Do you think you have a good fan base here, or is it hard to tell, or what's your impression?
I won't complain. I even would say that at points the media in the US sometimes is more open-minded than the music media in Europe. It really depends on where you're going and what we're talking about. But there is a good amount of still active metal magazines in the US, and you have a chance to spread the name in North America in general. We're doing okay. I would not complain about it. As in Europe, it's almost impossible to get any radio airplay. It's whenever you come up with a metal band, this seems to be impossible. It's just not existing for the editors in a radio station, but I'm used to it, so no problem with that.
Sure. Well, Hansi, it's been a long time since we had a Blind Guardian release. If I'm not mistaken, it's been 5 years since the last studio release. So why such a long delay between At the End of Time and now this one?
Well, it's mainly based on touring. Even in the US, we did a massive touring. We're not coming by more than once for each album, but it's a 2-month touring period we have for North America. And if you see the whole planet, our whole world touring plan, it's quite a demanding time, and there's no chance for us to do any sort of songwriting while we're on the road. We have been on the road for almost 2 years, so that's where half of the time has been gone away. The other time is really based on the heavy songwriting we did. It's very rich music. There's a lot of strong arrangements in terms of classical compositions, and that takes a while.
Sure. Well, when you're out touring, do you find that when you go left that you end up east somehow?
Can you say that again, please?
Sure. What I meant was, when you're out touring on the road, do you find that when you tour like the European countries that you experience a different vibe than, say, like the United States?
In general, the venues are a little bigger here, so the excitement due to that might be a little stronger, considering that you have hot-blooded people in Spain and Italy, where a show is more like a party. I would say there is a little difference. But comparing North America with most part of Europe, I would say it's pretty much the same, maybe with a smaller audience. That's the only difference. But we are used to that because that's how we started in Germany and Europe 20 years ago as well. So for us, it's more like rediscovering how it is to explore a market. So it's still very exciting for us.
Sure. Now listening to Beyond the Red Mirror, the one thing that jumps out at me from listening to the record, from start to finish, is how big sounding it is. It's a really epic release, and you have the big orchestral parts in it. Not that you haven't had that before, but it just seems like it's on a grander scale this time. When you're working on songs, like I'll throw as an example, like At the End of Time, do you envision that full spectrum of sound when you're writing it, or does it just kind of evolve as you develop the song, either in the studio or wherever you compose the songs at?
You would be surprised to hear the demo recordings of At the Edge of Time, because what you're listening to is pretty much what we have composed. So in most of the cases, yes, we have a fairly good vision about the final output. Still, things have to evolve in the studio. Like Andre and I, who are in charge of most of the orchestral arrangements and the arrangements in general, we have a certain skill in composing that stuff, but we are not familiar with the setup of an orchestra, for example. So this is something which has to be determined and designed during a recording session. And this is the reason why we take like 18 months in the studio, to accomplish the production. But once we are in the Czech Republic or in Budapest, for example, it's just a matter of hours before these orchestras are able to nail down the stuff, because everything is prepared in such a proper way that they don't have to complain about anything. We have gained that experience. That helped a lot. We started with, let's say, Theater of Pain from the Somewhere Far Beyond album in 1992, and therefore I have a great experience in how to treat these elements. But again, we are no professionals in scoring such stuff, so this needs at least an observing eye.
Well, Hansi, being that most bands, whenever they put out a new release and they do a touring cycle behind it, they like to, play some of the music from the new release to promote it. And being that the new release is so large and bombastic, including symphonies and orchestras and choirs and whatnot, how do you recreate that in a live setting on the road? I mean, I'm sure you're not taking a whole choir and a whole orchestra with you, are you?
You're right about that. We don't do that. We have another project, which we call the Orchestra Project, in mind. And once this is going to be released, this is going to have a touring situation with orchestra as well. For this one, we are rearranging the stuff so it can be played on a keyboard and still keep the momentum, the size of the original intention. We have again some experience with that, because we were facing the same problem when we did songs like "And Then There Was Silence" or "Sacred Words" in the past, and the output for a live situation came out extremely well. And so I'm very confident that we are going to find a way for the songs we have decided to play this time as well. We're going to play The Ninth Wave, and this sounds great the way it is. So we just have to work on the other songs and then, come up with a good setup for the live situation. But in general, we, of course, have so many good albums and have to present so much of the older stuff that, people are fine with, like 2, 3, 4 at a maximum new songs.
Right. Well, I got to ask you there, Hansi. Chris and I have noticed over the years, and we've kind of broken it down from a lot of the European bands that seem to take a lot of interest in myths and legends and demons and dragons and, wizards and, all that kind of visual stuff. Why is that so prevalent with European metal?
I believe it is based in the music already. If you do such larger than life music, and if it's so dreamy done, like in the case of Blind Guardian, it becomes fairly natural that you relate to mythology or fantasy in general, and use that as often as possible. And this has been the case for us.
Sure. Well, Hansi, I want to swing back to the record for a minute. With Beyond the Red Mirror, you did have a member change. You brought in Baron Courbois on bass. Why the change, and what does Baron add to the mix that maybe wasn't there before?
Well, Oliver, who did the bass prior to Baron, who has been a constant guest musician in Blind Guardian, has been a great, or is still a great bassist. But he was working. He started working with Rhapsody of Fire, so to avoid problems in the scheduling of the concerts, he suggested leaving Blind Guardian because he was considered to be a constant member of Rhapsody, and he preferred that. And we appreciated his open words, and split it in good terms. Baron came in due to suggestion by Charlie Bauerfeind, our producer, who worked with Baron years and years back, and he was convinced that he could be the one, substituting Oliver in a most accurate way. And so when Baron came in, we didn't have high expectation to change anything because we were confident with the style Oliver has brought in as a bassist. Baron is a little more melodious than Oliver. So this would be the difference in terms of, bass performance on a Blind Guardian album, while Oliver has been more supportive to what Frederick has been doing in his drum performance. Baron has more the John Deacon style, while Oliver goes more into a progressive, straightforward metal style.
Sure. Now, while we're talking about basses, no secret, back in years gone by, you used to play bass, and you obviously have since taken up being a singer more full time. Looking back at that for you, was that a good creative choice for you, or do you sometimes miss, actually playing bass and writing bass lines and that type of material?
I did partly when I started working on a song called Miracle Machine, so the bass is not completely out of my hand, but it ended up to be a piano song with no bass. Right. I do not regret it, and I think I've made the right choice because as a composer and as a vocalist, I feel more comfortable and have some more qualities than I used to have as a bassist. I was at the very end when we did Imaginations a little limited in the input I could create due to my bass performance, and this has been the point when I said, well, we need a proper bass player. There's just a handful of good bass players on this planet, and we are privileged to have had the chance to work with Oliver and now with Baron. So I never regretted it.
Well, Hansi, I got one more, and it's not specifically related to Blind Guardian or this record, but I'm just curious because of the subject material that I often see pop up in music. Why is the myth or legend of Icarus such a interesting topic for a lot of musicians? There's quite a few songs out there that reference Icarus flying into the sun and having his wings melt off. Why do you suppose Icarus is such an interesting character for metal bands to sing about?
Yeah, because it's analogy to human behaviors and to human failures. And I believe metal musicians in general, they still want to deliver a certain message when they, even if they do mythological songs. I can say that for Blind Guardian in general. You want to deliver a certain aspect which might help you, in understanding. And this Greek myth, of course, is predestined, because it's easy to understand, and it's still telling a great story.
Sure, absolutely. Well, Hansi, we appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk to us here on the Classic Metal Show. Of course, the new release from Blind Guardian is available. It's called Beyond the Red Throne, and or Beyond the Red Mirror. Sorry. And is there any significance behind the title of the new CD?
Well, there is a concept going along, and that goes back to Imaginations from the Other Side. And basically, we are facing two different universes, depending from where you look through the mirror. The one is more the typical mythological fantasy world, and the other one would be a more realistic world than ours. And they are connected somehow, mostly because of that final red mirror. And the protagonist on the new album is desperately looking for that red mirror to accomplish his mission, which was given to him years and years ago.
Absolutely. All right, well, go out and pick up the new Blind Guardian, Beyond the Red Mirror. It's available today. And Hansi, we want to thank you for being a guest here on the Classic Metal Show again. And I don't know if we asked this question to you the last time you were on, and since you have played bass, this particular question might be of some relevance to you. How has Lemmy from Motorhead influenced your career?
Not at all, to be honest. I have no relationship to Motorhead. I've never had. I was into Maiden, I was into Judas Priest, but Motorhead never attracted me. I'm sorry to say.
All right, well, we'll pass that along to Lemmy.
He doesn't know who I am. So no
he's going to find out who you are real quick, my friend.
Okay.
All right, Hansi. Well, again,
he loves Germany, so I go hidden somewhere.
All right, Hansi. Well, we always let the artist pick a closing song from the interview, from the new album, and maybe tell us a quick story about it.
Well, I would go for my favorite one, that's Sacred Mind. And I think it's a misleading song in the beginning, and it reveals a roller coaster ride with an intensity which we hardly have achieved so far. And I'm really proud about that. It's a very tricky song, so I think that the listeners are going to enjoy that one.
Excellent. Well, here it is. This is Blind Guardian from Beyond the Red Mirror. This is Sacred Mind exclusively here
on your Classic Metal Show.